everybody, I'm Teacher Yusen and today I'm back again with our 2025 NMOS preparation. Today, the topic I'll be talking about is the corresponding method. Well, what is it about? Let's take a look at the question below. The question asks for how many rectangles contain at least one star in the following figure. Well, to make sure that we understood this question, there are a few concepts that we need to learn first. The first question is that, how do I draw a rectangle? Well, if you think about it, all of you should be able to get to this, where to get a rectangle, it is extremely simple. Just getting two horizontal lines and then two vertical lines. Well, these lines should be perpendicular, and with just two horizontal lines and two vertical lines, I get a rectangle. What else? We realize this question wants us to have the rectangle contain a star. Well, what would have changed if it requires them to contain something? We can take a look at this figure. For this rectangle to have contained something, we realize we are breaking it down into one line to the left of the star, another line to the right, and then, of course, one above and one below. And that is how we get a rectangle that contains that object. So essentially, what we have is, the hashtag method, where this method requires us to multiply the left with the right at the top and the bottom all together to get the number of rectangles that contain at least one of that object. Then how do we apply this concept into our question? Well, of course, we can think about, how do I draw those lines to contain this star? But before we start on that, because there are two stars, we want to differentiate them easily. So I've chosen to give them a name. Well, the top left star, I call it X. And the bottom right one, I call it Y. Then what should I be doing? Let's see. To make sure that we get those rectangles that contain at least one star, I have to find those that contain only X and only Y. And lastly, I have to also include those of the rectangles that contain both X and Y. Well, let's jump into the question then. We see, to get those rectangles that contain X, to make it simple, I label those lines A to F and the vertical lines 1 to 7. How do I make sure that these lines can make sure I get a rectangle that contains at least the X star? Well, I can draw a line here. A line at line B over here. And then the next one we think, where do I want to put it? To make sure we contain only X, well, I have to separate them. And that means the line should be at, line D. Well, this line D successfully separated it into two parts, where the top part contains only X and the bottom contains only Y, right? Then now we think, what about those vertical lines? How do I make them? Well, I can put 1 and 2, and then the next one, where do you guys think we should put it at? Take maybe a 5-second pause to think about where do we insert that line. Well, time's up, everybody. I'm pretty sure all of you here definitely would have chosen to put it at line 4. Because, well, it is the line in the middle that separates both of the stars. But no. that is actually a trick. Why? Because we realize actually we can put the line anywhere we want to the right of it, because line D has already separated it into two parts. The width, the part in the middle, just containing x. So, we realize that is not what we wanted, right? Because if I already have line D, that means no matter how I put my line on the right, we'll be able to separate those two stars aside from each other. Well, so line D basically just does the job for us. Well, we think, then what if I don't put line D? Well, if my horizontal lines are at line B and line E, where do I put those vertical lines then? Well, if I want to put those vertical lines, the line on the left again, I can still put it anywhere I want, but that line needs to be at line 4, where it successfully splits it into two parts. So we see, now we end up with two different cases where there is line D that splits it into two parts, or if we don't put line D, then we'll have to make sure our vertical line is at line 4. So this comes this situation where if I want it to be only x, then there are two different scenarios where I use line D, or if I don't use line D. And similarly, if I go to only y, the other star, we'll end up with another two more scenarios. So this is a problem because it leads to too many cases. Oh no. Then what do we do? Well, actually, let me tell you one very easy solution. And that is, we first find all of the rectangles that contain x. And then after that, we find all rectangles that contain y. And because all of these rectangles that contain x includes those some of them that contains both x and y. Similarly, for rectangles that contain y, well, they would have also contained both x and y. So what do we have to do at the end? We have to subtract one time those rectangles that contain both x and y. And then we'll be able to get those rectangles that contain at least one of the stars. Well, let's jump straight into the question then. For all rectangles that contain, well, x, how do we find it? Well, we can choose from those lines on top, A, B, and C. And then, those lines below, how many of them are there? D, E, and F, 3 of them. What about those lines on the left of it? Well, it will also be 3 of them, lines 1, 2, and 3. And to the right, lines 4, 5, 6, and 7. So all together, we have a total of, well, 3 times 3 times 3 times 4, for an answer of 108 rectangles. Then, what's next? We want to find rectangles that contain y. Oh, again, we look at the top. A, B, C, and D, 4 of them. Below, E and F. Oh, then to the left, 1, 2, 3, and 4. To the right, well, it is just 5, 6, and 7. So, those rectangles that contain line y will be 4 times 2 times 4 times 3 for an answer of 96. But that is not all. We still have to consider those rectangles that contain both x and y. So, what is it? Well, we first have to circle up that rectangle that contains both x and y. And then after that, again, we look at how many lines are above, below, left, and of course, right. So well, 3 of them above, 2 of them below, 3 of them to the left, and lastly, 3 of them to the right. So we end up with what answer? 3 times 2 times 3 times 3. So, what do we get at the end? For those rectangles that contain only x, only y, and then we subtract those overlap parts, which is both x and y, to get our answer of 150. Yay! We have reached our answer. Fantastic. Then that seems to be all for our this question, where we use the hashtag method to solve this question. But that is not all for the question. Well, we have still something else, and this is your homework. And all of you do remember to try this question on your own, and feel free to type the answer in the comment section below. Well, I'm DJ Yusen, and you guys can contact me through WhatsApp or WeChat by scanning the QR code below. Do not worry if you are stuck. Do remember that I'm always here to help all of you. Thank you, and do remember to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. See you guys next time. Bye bye.